Just got to be part of one of the, people would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to hear the speech I just heard from our 79 team. Sorry, a little late, but those guys were unbelievable and reminded us that they too in that year went 4-4 and to start out almost didn't make the tournament. And so everybody goes through some adversity. I guess what I'm proudest of is we practiced hard day before a game, which is not supposed to happen. And we had a serious injury in Kenny. I mean, I don't know how serious the injury is, but an injury that lost him for the game, and he's our leading rebounder, and we haven't been rebounding well. But I'll give Nick Ward credit, you know. I got to figure out how to keep that going. Irvin told him that too, so I'm sure it'll mean a little more coming from him, which is fine with me. But we only out-rebounded them by 5, but without Kenny, that's a good rebounding team. Impressive stats for 27 assists on 31 baskets. That is our 79 team. Impressive stat is Judd sitting up there having a beer with Gus. He's so selfish, he wouldn't let us score 81, so he let us score 79, so we'd remember the 79 team. And so we scored 79 points today, and that was impressive. I thought our defense was a lot better. We didn't shoot as well from the line again in the first half. I think we were 5-11, and they had banked 2 threes in, and that's a lot of points. And instead of being up maybe 18, we're up 11. And when people start banking threes in, including the first one of the game, when you haven't been guarding the three real well, a lot goes through your mind. But I'm proud of my team, proud of them, my staff, because there wasn't a lot of fun around here this week. And I told them that because they work so hard, they deserve to have some fun today. And I think that's what they did. The crowd again was phenomenal. And we went into it with one key, you know, and it was to defend, cut out, rebound, and run. And, you know, Cassius and McQuaid, between the two of them, I think they had 17 assists and no turnovers. Coming off a game when we had 25 turnovers, we have 9. We just focused in and did some things better. I thought our defense was even better than the stats that turned out. Guys did a heck of a job. So one more day, you get to figure out, you know, how to capture some of that, and then see what the deal is with Kenny. Question.
To have Matt McQuaid be aggressive and knock down shots like that, you know, especially without Josh, what does it mean to this team, at least today?
You know, it's funny. That's the first thing Irvin said. You know, Matt's dad came up, so he came to practice yesterday. Matt shot the lights out at practice, so I'm going to see if he'll get an apartment for a month or something. But it made a big difference. Matt shot really well yesterday, and he shot even better today now. Got a little crazy there a couple of times, but I guess I don't blame him. He's been in a little bit of a slump. And so I did forget, you know, Nick was great, Matt was great, and Cassius really did a lot of good things. He just was limited in minutes because of that foul trouble, and it was scary because I felt comfortable playing him with 2 fouls, but not once Kenny went down, and I just didn't know who we were going to have left. I didn't feel comfortable, so we did it the way we did it.
You mentioned the Kenny injury, I guess, first. How is he and how's he responding?
Well, they did X-ray it, and that's the good news. They X-rayed it immediately, took him away, because I think they thought it might have been cracked, and it wasn't, so that's the positive news. And the other positive news is on his left hand. So, our left arm. The negative news is, I don't know. It couldn't go back in. I think if it would have been an emergency late in the game, he probably could have, but he said he didn't have enough strength in his arm to make a pass. So I said, just guard and get a rebound, hell of a pass. But didn't go that way. But I don't know. I won't know anything probably till tomorrow. But at least I know it's not broken, because there was some fear of that.
And with that, Foster and Kithier had to play a lot of minutes early.
Yeah, and I thought, you know, both of them, Foster did some really good things, and then, you know, he's growing, man. It's hard to do what I'm expecting him to do. And Kithier continues to do a lot of good things when he gets his chance. And we even got Marcus in there some, and think he showed where he was able to get up and down, do some things. You know, we played a lot of people, a lot of different people. We made some mistakes with that. Some coverages we blew, but in general, McQuaid was unbelievable defensively. Nick was far better than he's been. And we did get some out of Arns. You know, we're making some progress with the freshman Aaron Henry, Gabe Brown. I wish I'd have gave him a few more minutes, but Foster did pretty good. We hung in there with a mass unit lineup. That was good.
Tom, I know you said that your players are going to have to, deal with playing past exhaustion or hitting a wall, but 24 minutes tonight for Cassius, can that be very beneficial for him, in the next couple games, especially with Wisconsin coming up on Tuesday?
Well, it could be beneficial for him. It ain't very damn good for me. And I'm selfish, so I'm a little worried about me. I mean, I say that kiddingly, that we can't have him in foul trouble. And, but we vowed we were gonna get him down into the low 30s today, one way or another. So they force-fed me, and I thought DJ did a good job of moving those guys around. And but I never like to have a guy like that sitting that long. So he did get a good rest. For me, it'll give me a good excuse to practice harder tomorrow. For him, I think, we forced him and Matt forced a few things late. I think frustration, I don't blame him. But in general, to shoot 51, 40, only 68, out rebounded by a few without Kenny, not have many turnovers. That was encouraging. And the other encouraging things was Nick working and Cueto shooting. So.
You talked about the defensive numbers, maybe not showing how well you played, but Coffey doesn't score until about 8 minutes to go in the game. Murphy only gets 5 points, I think. Just talk about that performance and how they played it, and for Matt being able to say, I can play well defensively and be a factor offensively at the same time.
Well, that is a big key. I thought the other big key was, Nick. We put a lot of pressure on Nick because we were flipping coins that put him on. Whatchamacallit, because he's been playing so good, Murphy, and he didn't get any shots. And I think, I give Dwayne Stevens a lot of credit. It was his scout, and we decided to play him for the drive and play him for a certain way, and we got a lot out of it. So it was good preparation by our guys. I thought our guards dug in there pretty good. Their bigs are good, and they're missing a big too. I don't know how much he plays, but more than a little. And personally, I thought Minnesota was playing pretty well. They got beat by Wisconsin, but they had a couple big wins, and it's the way the whole league is right now. There's just a lot of strange things that happen, and I'm hoping that Kenny will be healthy, and I think we'll be able to build off this, not off the game as much as off the practices, if that makes any sense.
We've never apologized for calling players out. And the 3 players you challenged were your best players on the floor. Is there a message there?
Yeah, it was funny because when the players spoke, and Urban spoke, and Jay spoke, and Gregory spoke, but Jay Vincent spoke, and he said, Coach is a little old school, he's in between, he's not Judd, and he kind of gave a sigh, but he said, he's kind of an in-your-face guy, and he says, I just want you young guys to know that I had to go through that too. And every time Urban made a mistake, Judd yelled at me, and every time Gregory made a mistake, Judd yelled at me. So at least Tom was equal opportunity. When you guys make a mistake, he yells at you. And I thought that was pretty true. And so, remember this. And I think you're asking this in a way, but this day and age, you almost got to defend everything you do. My kids do something wrong, they're going to be held accountable. My players do something wrong, they're going to be held accountable. If I do something wrong, I was held accountable. So that's what we're missing. We're missing accountability. And it's going to be a cold day in the place below before I let that go. And when you have a day where I said we didn't practice well. Now, when I said we didn't practice well, to show you how dumb I am, I incriminated myself. I run the practice. It's my practice. And so I incriminated myself last week, maybe on purpose. Maybe I didn't know they could take it, maybe whatever, but we all got together and we practiced. So Allen Iverson might not be ecstatic about it, but I think he'd have been proud of the effort they gave. And so now, I think we're gonna be able to understand and learn from that, and hopefully we'll keep rolling. But remember too, this team has been really good. We had a bump in the road, as one guy told me, and it was a big bump, and some bizarre things, shooting the way we did from the line, turning it over more than a bakery, we had some bizarre things, but we didn't do what Michigan State does. We didn't defend, we didn't rebound, and we didn't run. And anytime you lose your identity, you lose a lot. And it's those guys that came back today, not only my former players, but that 79 team. We huddled up at the end, and Irvin said, Gregory, do what our battle cry was, and it was all about potential, And Gregory almost screwed up how he spelled it, so I had to help him a little bit. But, the potential word is a word that we all know is out there. Who's going to meet their potential? And my job is to drive my guys till they meet their potential.
One follow-up to that, it's one thing for Urban to sneak in the back door and sit in the suite. When he's in the third row and sitting with his team, and your team feels that, don't they?
Oh, I don't, I think so. I know I do. I just sat there and kind of watched in amazement. I just said, I told him he could sit up in my wife's box. I had another box if they wanted to go there. But just like ours, when he goes to the NCAA tournament, he doesn't want to sit in a box. He wants to sit with his fellas, as he calls them. And that's what I love about Urban. I mean, he's done so much for this place that, yes, he's given a lot of money to this place. Yes, he's given us a lot of national attention in a lot of ways. But what he's given to us most, you couldn't put on paper or on a checkbook. It's just, when he talks to those players, I mean, God, there were 15 guys sitting there, 30 sets of eyes focused right on him. And he looked at him, he said, it's not like this everywhere. And you better appreciate it. I think I better appreciate it. We all better appreciate it.
Tom, Nick Ward finished with 22 and 9. Did you see that coming in practice, and did he do something different this week after the Illinois game?
Yeah, you know what the good news is? Because I've learned that, Nick, I don't know if he handles success as well, So I told him at halftime, you've got to get a double-double. That's our goal for him. So he only ended up getting one more rebound. So I still got something to get on him about, so I feel good about that tomorrow. But Nick had some rebounds in the first half like he did early on, two-hand rebounds above everybody. I was, Nick's an interesting guy, and maybe having Irvin, Gregory, Jay, they all kind of called him out in a positive way. Nick's just got to realize, and he's been a lot more consistent this year, but if Nick and Cassius aren't consistent right now with Josh gone, we're not going to win as many games. If Gregory and Magic weren't consistent, I'd like to see in that team. That's no insult to those other guys. Watch what I say, but I'm just saying. And I thought Nick's performance today, even defensively, I mean, we aren't going to give him credit defensively, but some of that 1 for 4 on Murphy was Nick Gardner, and he deserves a lot of credit for that.
So sort of a similar question, I guess. Just how much of that is just sort of engagement level for Nick?
If I had the answer to that, I wouldn't let it happen. And he's been a lot more engaged this year in every way, shape, or form. But that's the accountability thing I was talking about for my own self. This has been the hardest year for me from this standpoint. We're playing 2 more games. The TV schedule is even crazier. And when you have 2 and 3 games a week and you have to take a day off and then you got to practice hard and you say, I don't want to practice hard day before a game. And I got trainers telling me something, and these guys, and it really is more difficult. And I think I gotta do a better job of figuring it out, but I threw caution to the wind a couple days ago and said, you know what, we're just gonna get after it. We're gonna get after it, and if we get beat because we're too tired, that'd be a good reason to get beat. We're not gonna get beat because we're not playing hard enough. And I think that was the lesson of the day. We'll see where it takes us from here.
Magic said something earlier about having to take on the identity of Judd for the team. Do you feel like, does Cassius need to do that maybe a little for this team? And do you feel like today, in getting out and running like you did, maybe you did a little bit?
Guys, it's no secret that Nick and Cassius got challenged. I mean, and they're right. You're right. And I said it, you know, he must have stole my speech to him 2 days ago. They're the best two players in this team. They're two of the better players in this conference. Your best players can't just play good. And sometimes they can't just play great. When you lose a guy like Josh, you lose a guy like Kenny, they got to play at a level maybe they've never been at. And I think both of them understand that. I really do. And but it's a grind. It's a grind, and they grinded this week, if that's a word. And they did. And so we got some success with it. Now we're going to have to figure out how to manage everything and just keep working at it. But it was fun to watch them play today. It was fun to watch the fans get into the game. It was fun to look over and see some, I guess, elderly men now, 40 years past their prime, jumping up and down like college kids. That makes my day.
Time for one more.
Hey, Tom, when you've gone through so many seasons, how do you kind of balance that line of when things maybe go awry, saying, you know, all right, this is just, they're not playing well for a week, whatever, versus like something's wrong and needs to change dramatically?
Well, I think like a player, like a parent, like a boss in a company, you know, experience helps you. You look at different things you've gone through. You know, somebody asked me, have you lost 3 in a row very often? I didn't look it up. Have I? Have we?
Just 2 years ago.
The Duke guy would ruin the night, but you're right. But I mean, we haven't done this on a regular basis.
11 times in 24 years.
11 times in 24 years. In those first 2 years, we lost 3, then won 1, then lost 3, then won 1, then lost 3.
You know the last time you lost 4 in a row?
When?
18 years.
Oh, I don't want that to happen, Freddie. I'll tell you that. But, you know, I think your experience, you call people, you talk to people, you know, you try to figure out why. What's the reason? The reason came so obvious to me. We weren't defending the 3. It went from a plus 13 rebounding to a plus 1. The rebounding means you don't run. And if you don't run, we're that type of team that we got to run. So it really wasn't Einsteinic to figure out what was wrong. It was just look at the situation and go back to your roots. And that's why if in anything you do, you know, there's a million times in my life you start to forget where you came from. Where I came from, sometimes I'm trying to forget where I came from, but I mean that sincerely, that you forget what got you to where you are. And I think that, you know, when you start having success over and over and over, and this is what's so much harder, and so long since I gave my social media commercial, but you know, you hear so many good things, it's just, I thought we got a little fat and sassy. I really did, you know, I just didn't think we did the things that we needed to do. To their credit, I think they understood that too. Last question?
It's thinking back to '99. That game, the 20th anniversary team was here, kind of turned things around. I mean, was this maybe one of those kind of watershed moments for this team to have them there up close? And
You know, I've never had an entire team, a '79 team. We took pictures. Herbert and Gregory, and they were so good, and they were so excited to be here. It was like, I think then, 20 years in, a lot of them just got done playing, and they, you know, don't look at it the same way. Now 40 years in, I think they look at it, and And I thought Irvin said it best, because I said it in my meeting this morning at breakfast, our pregame meal. I said, you know, that was their time, and this is your time. And you have to take your time and do everything you do to leave the footprint that they left. And it's not always for a championship. It's, do you leave a footprint that you'd want other people looking and saying, that team had this. And if you win a championship, of course, it's the ultimate, but that's the ultimate. But there's still a lot of things. And that's what Irvin said to him, you know, we had our time. Now we're watching and pulling for you and letting you know that this school, these former players here are going to enjoy watching you have your time. What an incredible statement that was. And, it's pretty cool. So I appreciate it. You know what? I'm going to go up and have a little reunion event. I'm going to drink water, but I'm going to drink a hell of a lot of water. Have a good time with those guys and get back at it. So I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys soon.